But I think that something that's made me as competitive and win as much as I have is the ability to manipulate my mind to believing that I can win every time. Realistically, I know I'm not going to win every time, but I convince myself every time I pay my fees that I've got a chance to win first.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Ramblin' Rodeo podcast. I'm your host, Isaiah Ellis, and today we have a special guest, Mr. Glenn Jackson. He's from Oklahoma. Before we get started, we're going to start with prayer, and then we will go into the interview. Dear Lord, thank you for the ability to be able to do podcasts. Thank you for being able to speak freely, and Lord, thank you for the ability to be able to pray, God. Lord, I thank you for allowing me to do this podcast today. God, I pray that you guide it. God, I pray that you guide this podcast for the listeners and the guests. Thank you for all you do. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, so Mr. Glenn, if you want to just start off by telling us who you are and what you do.
My name's Glenn Jackson. I'm originally from Houston, Texas. I live in Okmulgee, Oklahoma.
And what's a little bit of the things you do?
I'm kind of a rodeo guy, rodeo contestant, we'll call it. I rope calves, and I'm a stag stunt performer.
All right. And let's talk a little bit about you growing up. So you were originally from Texas. You were in Texas for how long?
Well, without telling my age, we'll say a large percentage of my young adulthood.
Yeah. And then you moved to Oklahoma.
Yes.
Was there, when you were moving, was there any were you trying to decide any other state? Was there any decision? Were you thinking anywhere else?
No, not really.
It was really
It
just
just ended up in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was actually at the slack at Cheyenne, and I was waiting for the performance or the short round at the time. And I come back to Oklahoma with a buddy of mine, ended up rodeoing over here for a little bit, and realized it was more centrally located.
What do you mean by centrally located?
It's just a lot closer to get to multiple places than it is being further south
I
in
guess.
Houston.
Oh yeah, I get what you're saying. You can go around a lot more places.
Absolutely.
Alrighty. And so you're in Texas for a while, you moved to Oklahoma. I'm guessing it didn't take you long to just start rodeoing all around Oklahoma.
Oh, it didn't take long at all. I had some buddies out here, and we got hooked up, and I started rodeoing.
Yeah. I would not want to live I would not want to leave this rodeo community because it's like, in Florida, Alabama-ish. It's like you just know everybody, you know the rodeo community. I could not imagine just going and moving to a whole other state. Was there any difficulties? I know you said you knew some people, but was there any other difficulties you faced moving?
No, not really. I'm pretty
No.
I'm pretty well rounded and get along pretty easy.
Yeah. I'm not a big, I mean, I do podcasts, but I'm not just no big like at rodeos. I'm not just one just to go out and go talk and meet 100 friends. I'm just not. That's just not who I am. When I'm at rodeo, it's just like me and 90% of the people that I know, it's like they came and talked to me first. So I think it would be harder for me to just go and change a whole rodeo association or change a whole state of rodeo because of the people that I've already got to meet. So going back, so you're a calf roper now. Was there any other events you did before calf roping?
Oh, at one point in time, I've probably done every event in rodeo. I team
Yeah.
roped quite a bit more in my childhood. Then I became a calf roper full time.
Yeah, I love to team rope. I'm a header, and yeah, I would not leave it for calf roping ever. I won't say that, but I don't never plan to at least. Lord's will, I'll stay heading. So you started with team roping. You headed in heeled,
Both, absolutely.
and So you were team roping for a while. Then you kind of got into calf roping.
Yeah.
So why did you get into calf roping?
Well, team roping, for one, calf roping is more of an independent sport, and I'd rather control my own destination, for
Right.
one. For two, I didn't meet the expectations of my family as a team roper, so I wanted to do something different.
Right. And for those who don't know, because this podcast is also about educating people on the rodeo world. For those who don't know, can you explain what calf roping is?
Rope him, get off your horse, flank him, tie him down.
Yeah,
Just that simple.
it's very I think a lot of people make it look a lot easier than what it is. But yeah, I couldn't calf. I could not calf rope. It just ain't my thing. Yeah,
I think you probably could. You're
I
convincing yourself that you can't.
yeah, I'm pretty bad at that. I guess I'm just so dead set in team roping. Like at one point, I wanted a bulldog, and it just wasn't for me. Like I haven't got a scholarship to go bulldog at a school, and like there's opportunities for me to go to schools, but it just wasn't for me, I guess. And like calf roping, there's so many people who's been like, man, you should calf rope. Like I got these calves. Like we can. I'm like, it's just not my thing. It just ain't. You know, like. I want a rodeo for long. I think calf roping takes a lot out of you. When you say so?
Uh, it depends on your dedication.
Yeah, I guess I mean, I guess especially in the practice pen, like man, we can go rope steers all night long if we wanted to, but calf roping, I'd be dead beat tired. Wouldn't you say so?
Well, it was a time that I roped from down to sun up. We didn't
Right,
rope from sun up to sundown because it was so hot in Texas. A lot of times we'd rope all night as a kid. But at this point in my roping career, it's limited. You know, I rope a lot of breakaway calves. I'll stand over a few and tie down in the practice pen. But the majority of my full all out runs are at the rodeo.
right, right. And I mean, I like the idea of that, like if we can make our main focus in the arena, like in that rodeo. Do you ever, I mean, is there other times that you do practice?
If things aren't going good, I'll practice. I'll try to fix what's going wrong. And other than that, it's just mental.
Yeah, I agree with the mental side of it. Like, I'll make two bad runs in a row, and I'll be like, "Man, I'm roping this dummy," and I mean, with passion, I'll just be roping and roping and roping, and it's just like once I finally get it out of my head, I'm like, "Okay, I'm good." So you're in the calf roping, and you still calf rope, isn't that correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
No reason to quit.
yeah, exactly. You've been calf roping for a long time. When was it that you were finally like, "Man, this is for me"?
The first big win.
And what was that?
Oh, it was probably mid teenager. And I realized that they had enough jackpots right there around South Texas that I could make a pretty good part time living. Dang sure make more money roping than I could at a part time job and still
Right.
be in school.
So what are some competitions you've won that just really stick out?
Well, I won the average at Corpus Christi last year, the WCRA, Reserve IRA champ. Won the average at the IFR a couple of times.
And I'm sure you've won like a pot full of money at jackpots and stuff too.
It's been pretty good.
Yeah. I guess that I just don't really look for them, but is there a lot of calf roping jackpots? Like I know there's a lot of team roping jackpots, but I've just never looked for calf roping jackpots. Is that the thing?
Oh, yeah.
There's a
It's
lot
pretty
of them.
big over here in Oklahoma and Texas.
Yeah. I mean maybe it's just not a lot around here, but I just don't look for calf roping jackpots. Yeah, I've just something I was thinking about. So has there been any challenges you face throughout the rodeo side of it? Trying to maybe it was switching from team roping to calf roping, or any problems you faced with calf rope?
Just staying healthy. It's kind of been a battle for me because I've never really let things heal up. I've kind of done it on my own time. I've cut a cast off for a time or two, and I've just done things at my own time, rolled to my own beat.
Yeah, that seems like I mean, the central of cowboys, honestly. Like it just, they don't listen to many doctors, it seems like. But yeah,
Well, if you don't win, you don't have any finances,
I
and
mean,
you
I
don't
guess,
you don't get a chance. You don't get a check for sitting on the sideline, or you
yeah,
don't get a sick check, and none of that.
I guess that is true. I really do hope one day like I could live off rodeo. That's like that would be a dream, like not working, not doing anything, just go rodeo. That would be fun. I mean, the team roping itself, that's a very, very tough competition. I mean, even the calf roping, I mean, any rodeo event is a tough competition. Man, especially in rodeo, it comes down to the seconds. Like I know some events it could come down to 30, 45 seconds, but we're talking about I mean, less than a second. It comes down to the change it could change the whole thing. Has there ever been times where it's been that close for you?
Absolutely. It's tenths of a second every time.
Yeah, it comes down very, very quickly on you. Probably faster than any other sport there is, as far as time wise. It's very, very demanding. So, going back to calf roping, who are some competitors you faced, maybe well-known competitors or competitors that were just like really, really hard on you?
At this point, it's a lot of younger guys that rope really good and they go really fast, really good and
Right.
really fast.
You're
And
like slow down.
yeah, absolutely. He's up on the old guy.
Yeah. When you think of your calf roping, anytime you've backed in the box and rope, what are some memories that you're like that just really stick out?
Maybe some of the guys that I've made the IFR with, that I've rodeo with, and some of the guys that I've shared wins with. It's more sentimental things than the winning at this point.
Right. I get that. Like you could win 500 buckles, three saddles, like you could win all this kind of stuff. Like those memories at a point where after you've won this much, it's like, all these things are just material things that will probably end up sitting on a shelf or sitting in a tack room. It's like the memories that we have with the people that we compete with or the people watching the rodeo or the people putting on the rodeo. Those are the memories like those are memories that really, you know, make it worth rodeoing.
Absolutely.
Okay, so walk us through a day with Glenn Jackson. So I mean, you get up pretty early. I'm not a super early morning person. You seem to get up pretty early, and I think that goes with dedication to what you do. So tell us a little bit about a day with Glenn Jackson.
My day usually starts about 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. It's coffee, the news, read the newspaper, check emails, get my day started, planned out to start, I'll say, and take off from there. I always like to say I'm never really out of pocket. I'm just not in anyone's back pocket, meaning I just kind of roll to my own beat and do what I think needs to be done that day.
Yeah, you kind of go a little bit everywhere and do what you need to do.
Absolutely.
So how many horses do you have?
I've got two horses around now, one that I
Oh,
rodeo on and one that I've been practicing on a little bit.
oh, okay. And so do you have an arena that you practice at? I mean, that you have, or do you go somewhere and practice?
Now, I've got an arena and I've got a little indoor lane that I rope at.
All right, all right. For us, we go and practice. I mean, we have an arena, but we just don't have, the whole setup for team roping right now. I mean, we've just started team roping in the past year, but we go out and practice, and I think there's benefits to both. I think I tell them all the time. I said, man, we're gonna be in trouble if we end up getting all these steers because I was like, we're gonna rope all night. Like we're gonna miss so much stuff. Like I would miss so many things. So I'm like, let's keep it where we go somewhere, where we have to get kicked out at a certain time.
I
All
think
right.
that's just a part of it that comes with success. I gave up a whole lot. I missed graduation, I missed prom, I missed a lot of activities growing up to rodeo and to practice.
Right. And I think rodeo teaches us a lot of lessons. For me, it was like it really humbled me. It's a very humbling sport. What are some lessons rodeo has taught you?
It's taught me a lot to be a people's person. It's a very humbling sport, as you said. But the main thing, it taught me a lot of responsibilities. It basically taught me to grow up.
Really? Yeah, it really does. Because like I tell people all the time, like we were driving down the interstate one day and there was this horse trailer pulled off to the side and I was like, man, we should pull over for the source trailer. And I'm like, and we're sitting there talking, we're like, you would never do that for just a random truck or a random car. The rodeo world, it's like you have a different trust in the people in rodeo, like you don't have to worry about, I guess there's a few bad apples every once in a while, but like there's a certain trust in the rodeo world. Like if they got a horse trailer and horses, it's something different, it just you automatically click, it seems like.
It's like we're family. We may not be
Exactly.
immediate family, but 9 times out of 10, you know someone that I know, or we know someone that knows someone that knows someone, and eventually we can connect with one another.
Exactly. And it doesn't matter what event. I think that sometimes people will think maybe it's just like, man, all these team ropers know each other. No, you know everybody throughout the rodeo. It is a big family. So you say you're a stunt man, I hear.
That I've been told that a time or two.
Tell us how you started into that.
It was just kind of a freak deal. They needed a guy to double Denham Richards on an Indian documentary, and I was their guy. Long story short, and it took off from there.
So what did you do in the first one?
Basically, I done some horse riding stunts, done a little bit of roping.
And so, like, I'm sure it was something that was very repetitive. Like, you had to redo it and redo it and redo it. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
So I hear
But
like,
you talking about a guy that made, we'll say, 10 times what a guy makes day working. So I go from being able to mess up and not win anything to being able to mess up and just do it again. That's a heck of a deal. Let's do it.
uh, that is really
I
cool.
can miss and you're okay with that? Yeah, let's do it.
That is really awesome. So that was your first time, like, it was something that just kind of came to you. After you did that, was it like, man, I like this?
Oh, I like the money. And I like the
Yeah.
fact that I could mess up and still win first, basically.
So how long was it till you did it again?
It wasn't very long. When I got started, I got in the business at the perfect time. It seems like when the westerns were really coming back, and it was one job after another.
So like, what are some fun memories you've had doing this?
Just some of the people that I've met and hung out with, that would be the main thing. And I've learned quite a bit from different aspects of life.
Right. It's a whole different world, ain't it? Like, there's a whole world, there's a rodeo world, but I think that side of the world, it's like a whole different world to be in.
Yes, you go into it open minded. Every wrangler, which is horse guys, they do things quite a bit different. They have their own way of doing things, and you have to keep in mind that you're attracting people outside of the rural environment. So you've got to do what attracts the people. Without the people watching, you make no residuals.
Right.
No watchers. Nobody wants to keep putting shows together.
I was listening to this podcast and there was like they were talking about how they were filming a movie or filming their show and how the production would want them to do things like that were not they didn't understand horses, they would want them to do things that would not benefit your horse in a good way. Was there times like that in that side of production?
Well, I don't know how much you're on the internet, but they've got a big deal on the internet going around right now about giving a horse Banamine in the muscle versus the vein off of the episode of Yellowstone last Sunday. And each is to their own, but you have to keep in mind the rural environment, they get up, they do their chores, they come home, they watch the news, they eat supper, they go to bed. It's the
Right.
inner city that makes a point on Sunday to watch that show, and
Right.
they don't know any different. We're who are you trying to sell it to? Is what it boils down to.
Exactly. So you were in Yellowstone, is that correct?
Yes.
I'm sure that was a big deal being able to go in there.
Well, it's made to be more of a big deal than it is. It's just another job.
Yeah. Did you expect it to be bigger than what it really was?
No, it actually blew up pretty fast, and I never expected it to get as big as it's gotten.
And what did you do in Yellowstone?
I done quite a bit of the roping stunts. I done all of Denim and Cowboys roping and riding stunts.
Oh, wow. That's pretty cool. So how long were you filming for Yellowstone?
I've done 5 seasons.
Oh, wow. And so how long did it take? How long is it taking to film that long?
I only stay a couple weeks at a time. It's not done in sequence.
Oh, okay. And so are you still in the stunt and filming world?
Yes.
So you do that. I mean, how often is it that you go and do things like that?
Oh, I've been here lately. I've been pretty busy on commercials and just some documentaries so that I can stay home and rodeo a little bit.
Yeah. Is it a far drive when you're going to do the stunt stuff, or is it, I mean, pretty local, or how does that work?
It's no driving. They'll fly me around.
Oh, really?
Anybody that's ever rodeo with me will tell you I'm sucked at driving. Absolutely suck. The worst driver you'll ever get.
Really?
I don't like it. I don't like anything about it. I'm best in sleeping. The
Yeah.
passenger seat.
Yeah, I guess that is true. My sister, she is like, you will drive everywhere. She's like, I'm done driving. I drove y'all around for a long time. I'm done. And so, yeah, she will not drive if you were in the car at all. She will refuse or not go. Like she is that strict about driving. I don't mind it that much. I really don't. So they fly you everywhere.
Yes.
Well, golly, I might want to get into that world. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm not a big not a big flyer. I mean, I've been on a few airplanes, but not nothing that's like, man, this is fun. It's nothing I really enjoy. The airport stress, I guess. So, are there any goals right now that you're working on, whether it's in the calf roping, whether it's doing stunt work? What any goals that you're wanting to work up to at this point?
Well, the goal is always to win as far as rodeo. I mean, you always want to win. But at this point in my career, it's more or less making memories.
I want to go back. I get that. Memories. Man, I really want to make as many memories as I can get while I can. Like it seems like the life that we live right now is just so short. So making the memories is so important.
My if I was going to say that I had one goal, it would be to leave the legacy of a good guy. I mean, it obviously you can Google what I've won and the internet and so forth, and you can see how my rodeo career's been. But I want people to think that I'm a good guy when I'm done.
I get that. It's not all about the money and the buckles and everything that we win. It's more about, the person that we are.
Absolutely.
So I kind of wanted to go back just a little bit. I was going to go back, but I kind of forgot about it. If you weren't a calf roper, what do you think you'd be doing? Or a stuntman?
That's a tough question. That's all I've ever done was rodeo. I'd probably be a stock contractor.
You know, what do you think? Why do you think stock contractor?
Well, that's been the family business. My grandpa was a stock contractor, and my dad's a stock contractor. So I would just follow suit. I would imagine.
Right. Yeah. Man, some stock contractors, I wouldn't want their job. They have a tough job. They really do. There's some complaining people in this world.
You know what? You just learn to smile and go on.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to have an opinion, and you do the best you can. And at the end of the day, that's it.
Oh yeah, exactly. For those who don't know, can you explain what a stock contractor is?
Basically, provide stock for the rodeo: bulls, calves, steers.
They bring it all.
Yes,
And some people love them, some people don't like them. It just depends on where you're at. So outside of rodeo, I mean, and stunt, what are other things you like to do?
oh, that's probably about it.
That's that's the
I've
majority
got a
of it.
pretty simple life.
Yeah. We don't have that much of a simple life. We do a lot, but I guess simple is easy. I wouldn't say it's easy, but I guess simple is enjoyable.
Definitely.
Yeah, for sure. I know in the area that we are in, we live 7 miles out of one red light town. So we are in the outskirts, like, of this town. And we're kind of we're in the middle of being able to go to a small town, being able to go to a bigger town. But we could not believe how many houses are coming our direction. We ended up buying all the land surrounding us because of the development that was coming our way. Is there a lot of development coming up there?
Oh no, I live in a rural environment. It's pretty laid back. Actually, a couple months ago, I had to sell a little bit of land there by my indoor arena to a Dollar General so that they could put a store there. But other than that, it's not a whole lot going on around here. It's pretty laid back. We've got to go 15, 20 miles to get to town.
Yeah, well, I know when we first moved here, we never believed that there would be houses coming this close to us. I mean, I'm talking like right across the street from us. They're building houses like we never would believe it, especially in this area. But I guess like the country view for people, I just don't get it.
Well, I think that they're wanting to get out of the bigger cities. But what I see happening is the bigger cities are coming to the rural environment, basically.
And they're making these small towns big cities.
Absolutely.
And I get it, like I'm sure they want to go to a small town, there's nothing wrong with that, but like golly, like give us some room, you know what I mean? So can you share something about yourself that people may not know a whole bunch about?
I'm kind of a loner. Yes, that
Yeah,
would be a misconception people have. I think
yeah,
they don't realize how much, a lot of people don't realize how much I like being alone.
yeah, I
Other
get it.
than that, my life's pretty open. It's
I'm
almost
a
like an open book. You ask, I'll answer.
yeah, I'm a pretty people's person, I would say. I mean, obviously I do podcasts and stuff, but like I would say I'm a pretty I like to talk to people. I don't like to go meet people a lot, but I do like to go talk to people.
Well, I don't mind. Actually, I enjoy visiting with people and I enjoy meeting people, but I like my alone time as well.
Right. So, for people who want to get into calf roping, and then we'll kind of go into stuff. But for people who want to get into calf roping, can you give them just a little bit, maybe of a rundown and some things that they should know?
Well, I think whether it's stunts or calf roping, whatever you decide to do, I think you should do a little bit of research, do a little bit of studying so that you'll understand the terms and the terminologies and etc. before you actually go and get help. So you're not wasting that person's time that's helping you. And after that, you just find somebody that it's willing to help you and dedicate yourself.
Right. And when you talk about dedication, can you talk a little bit on that?
Well, I tell kids all the time, I don't think that they should allow rodeo or calf roping, bulldogging, whatever they decide to do, to consume as much of their life as I allowed it to consume mine. But it has to consume a large percentage of your life to be good.
Right. I think that once we get addicted to it, I say addicted, but like really on the event that we want to compete in, whether it's calf roping or barrel racing or team roping, like once that's our thing, it's especially when you're first starting out, it's something that you just chase and chase and chase and chase. And I think that I hear a lot of people say it's like once it's all at the end of the day, it's like you just really wish you didn't spend as much time doing it as you did.
I've never felt like that. I've never regretted spending any time I've spent rodeoing. It's been great. I've met some really good friends that eventually became family, and I don't regret any of it. Maybe wish I'd have done it a little bit different, but no regrets.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, I think that some people have regrets on it, some people don't. It's definitely something that you never want to take back. It's something that you really do work hard for all the time. If you could go back in time and tell your younger self something, what would it be?
Don't allow rodeo to consume as much of my life as I allowed it to consume.
You know, did it take up a lot of your life, throughout your,
All of it.
I mean, really?
All of it. No, I never went to any high school sporting activities. I'd never played any other sports. I strictly rodeo. That's it. I didn't go
Right.
to birthday parties. None of that. Just rodeo.
Yeah, I try to make room for a little bit of everything. Like really try to plan out myself. Like some days I'll go to roping lessons, some days I'll go to a piano lesson. Like I'll just try to I'll be at church and like I'll try to plan it out to where it's not all consuming me. Which are some weeks and I'm like, man, I gotta miss, I need to rope. Yeah, I try to kind of even it out just a little bit. So for the mental side of rodeo, I know for me, like I've done some bigger like PCA rodeos and some other rodeos where there's a big crowd, and before I just did a lot of youth and high school things where, there was family that would watch and competitors' families that would watch, but I mean, it wouldn't be no full packed arena. And I mean, and so I'll go out in the PCA rodeo and there'll be, I mean, a big crowd and there'll be a lot of moving parts and there'll be acts and there'll be, fireworks or whatever it may be at the time. And it messed with my head a lot when I was first starting. Like I know we made 3 runs in the PCA and I missed all 3 of them. And that was just some local stuff we were just playing around. So I know it and I know it got to my head. I know that last one, it was in slacks. There was no like crowd or anything. It was just like after the rodeo kind of deal. And it was the closest that I've got to catching in a PCA. Like it was my fault, like I mean all of them were my fault, but it was right on the horns. Like I just pulled it off. And so going back to, the big crowds like really got into my head. I don't know if it was just like knowing that many people was watching me, but it really did. Is there any advice you have for people who may get maybe I don't know if I could say crowd anxiety, but who may let the crowd affect them while they compete?
Oh, I would suggest reading mental gymnastic books or just to build your mind, build your mental state ability, I guess you would call it. And I watch a lot of documentaries, boxing and tennis, because they're individual sports. But I think that something that's made me as competitive and win as much as I have is the ability to manipulate my mind to believing that I can win every time. Realistically, I know I'm not going to win every time, but I convince myself every time I pay my fees that I've got a chance to win first.
Right. It's definitely gets in your mind very, very easily, you know. At least for me, like it messes with my mind a lot. And I've been able to like kind of work through that, but I've been able to work through that just a little bit and like kind of get my mind on what needs to be, where it needs to be while I'm competing and kind of work through that where I'm not so worried about the crowd and how many people came and all the acts and all that stuff because it really did get to me for a while. So going back, we were talking about calf roping, and you said that you've won a good bit of money or whatever. What is the fastest time you made in the calf roping?
Oh, it seems like 16, 17-second runs here lately. It doesn't seem very good. On the records where it means the most, being at the pro rodeos, or we'll say where it could be validated, documents. I tied one in 6'8" at Hesperia, California in the early 2000s. I've tied some in six at some jackpots.
Right. It's yeah, I mean, I get the calf roping especially, it's like it really depends on, the calf that you get and like that depends on how they leave and how big they are, how small they are. I mean, when you're looking at a calf, what are you wanting to tie?
I watch and see how fast the playing field is. I go as fast as I possibly can.
Yeah. I get
Fast
I get
enough to win something, but slow enough to minimize my mistakes.
Yeah, I guess that is true. I've tried like there's been times where I've just like I've sat there and I've tried to just like watch how every steer came out. But then I was like, I need to stop this, like it's gonna mess with my head too much because like it's like asking somebody how the steer runs before you compete and then going and doing it. It's not what you do. I think
Well,
um,
you're just playing mental gymnastics with yourself.
yeah, exactly. And that's something that I'm great at doing. It's not good to do at all.
I don't per se watch the calf roping before I run one. I kind of have the same deal every time. I'm going to
Right.
see what I'm going to see. And if I go too fast, I'm going to pull. If I'm behind a little bit, I may hit. But
Right.
that's about it. Nothing to get worked up about and play mental gymnastics. Oh, I'm going to see this. This calf leaf. Nah, I'm not doing all that.
So
Nine times out of 10, I'm not even going to go and look at the draw before I run him. I'm going to know the number so that I know that that's him when I ride in the box, but that's about it.
yeah, I try not to look at the draw too much and if they say it, they say it, but I just kind of try to there's been times where I've watched and I've been like, what does this steer do? But like, it just messes you up too much because there was a time where I was going in the box and they were like, hey, this calf kind of this I mean the steer's fast, like he's real fast. And I don't know if they were just maybe they knew somebody and they were trying to like mess me up, but to tell you when I nodded, I went out with it and I went out fast. And my horse don't have like a lot of like, no slide and stop or nothing. But when I did, I blew right past the steer. Steer went all the way over here, looked like an idiot. So yeah, lesson learned there.
Yeah, I just kind of go with the flow. It is what it is, and it's going to be what it's going to be. But it's going to be my decision.
Right.
I pay my own fees, so I'm going to make my own decision. And if it's good, great, and if not, I can live with it.
I mean, I guess so. I like that. I like that a lot. So, you know, for someone who's wanting to get into the calf roping world, kind of explain I mean, it doesn't have to be super in detail, but kind of explain, you're pulling into a rodeo. What are things that you do when you're getting ready to go calf rope?
It's pretty simple routine for me. I just kind of do my own thing, saddle up, warm up, and hang out. And I
Yeah,
don't put any stress on myself. That's it.
yeah. So, I mean, yeah, I guess when you get into rodeo, it's pretty simple as far as, starting. It seems like most rodeos, it seems like it's just like a playback. Like, oh my goodness, I've done this, I've done it before and before and before. It's just like it's the same thing over and over and over again.
That's it. The same thing.
It's the
And
same
you
thing.
should probably ask someone else to get more of a fundamentally correct answer about preparation.
Yeah, I guess that there's some people who get pretty in depth, and some people who's just like it's very simple.
Yeah, I like to keep it simple. And when I ride in the box and they pull the barrier, it's a switch that turns on that's serious. And I'm gonna see what I'm gonna see, and I'm gonna try to win first. I don't back off. I don't try to get along as far as just go place. I'm gonna try to win first, and if it works out, that's great. If not, I'm gonna win something. And if I don't, I'm gonna roll my rope up. I'm gonna smile and ride out.
Yeah. There are some people, I think that the appearance that we have while we're rodeoing or after our run, right before our run is so important. And it defines, not only to the crowd, but to the competitors really who you are. When you miss the attitude that you have or when you catch the attitude that you've had. Because I mean, I've seen some people, they have gone crazy over a miss or not the time that they wanted. And it just paints a bad picture. And there's so many reasons why it's important to have a good attitude or, at least while you're in front of all these people to not show, how that run affected you. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, it's just for me. I always think about it as if we're entertainers. The people paid to be entertained. Basically, that's what it is. They came to see a show, and do you want to take your kid somewhere to see negativity? It's enough negativity in the world, and that may be that kid's first rodeo, and
Yeah.
everyone that's entered there is someone there's hero, is the way I look at it.
Yeah, I get that for sure. Like you're not only, painting a picture for the people who's been at the rodeo 100 times and this is their 30th town rodeo and it's little kids who, it's their first rodeo or the teenager who's, thinking about getting into rodeo because, I've been there, especially being a first generation where we went and watched a rodeo and we were like, that's when we decided, this is the event we want to do, this is where we want to go. And so I think that the appearance that you give to people that are watching, there's more people watching you than I think that we think sometimes,
Absolutely.
for sure. So I think I don't remember if it was you or I think it was you. You made a post something along the lines of someone's gonna remember your name forever because of the help you gave them. Was that you?
A possibility.
It was something like that. And I remember when I first started rodeo, there was I'd be trying something, whether it was roping the dummy or, I would be tying the dummy or doing whatever I was doing. And I remember there'd be people who'd come by and they would help, and people who's rodeoed for a long time, they've got all these friends. Like, what do they want to, why are they talking to me? Like, what are they benefiting from helping me at all? And they would help me and I'd be like, hey, what's your name? And I would remember their name forever, like they were my best friends, you know what I mean? Just because the one time they helped me, it meant so much more than what it helped me more than helped them for sure. But not only, but it's something that I remember forever. You know what I mean? Like the one time they helped me, I took that home. I mean, it stuck with me. And it's something that I have not done a super great job in and going and helping out people and that side of the world. So can we speak a little bit on that?
Well, my deal is growing up, my parents, first off, my parents gave me everything I needed to rodeo. We wasn't poor by any means, but we didn't have a lot to spare. So with that being said, I never asked my parents, "Hey, can I go to this $500 roping clinic or can I go to this $1,000 roping clinic?" But I had guys that roped at the highest levels: Joe Beavers, the Fred Whitfields, Ricky Cantons. I had NFR guys that took the time to help me. So I think it's only fair that I stop to help people that need help. You know, I don't know whether this person can afford to go to a roping clinic or not, but if I stop and help him rope a bale of hay or show him how to hold his rope or whatever the case may be, and then that's something he's going to remember. And it makes him feel important about himself. Hey, this guy that was entered at the rodeo, he stopped and made time to help me.
Yeah. And it's something that really does stick, more than we ever know. Like I've been there where it just was like, man, he helped me. And it's really, really cool.
Well, you think about this at the end of the day, and we all know whether it's the world champion in the arena, someone with I'm a world champion sports player, NFL Super Bowl winner, or NBA winner, whatever the case may be, that they're a great athlete, but they are a prick when they get off
Right,
the court, off the field, out the
right.
arena. Nobody wants to talk to those guys when their career's done. Actually, they
Yeah.
avoid them. It's
Yeah.
I know some world champions that I avoid because I don't want to hear their story, or I don't want to hear about the way someone screwed them around, them being a prick. And
Yeah.
I don't want to be that guy at the end of the day. When I'm done rodeoing, I want people to think, hey man, that's a great guy. Yeah, I remember that guy. He took the time to stop and help me when no one else would, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah. I like that a lot. I think that there's such a big opportunity that we have that we don't even realize, And we give a lot of credit to those who, put on these clinics or go help these people, and that's great. I love people who put on clinics. I love people who give these lessons, but I think that we have such a big opportunity in rodeo, or at the practice pen or whatever. We have such a big opportunity to help so many people that may not be able to afford a lesson, may not be able to afford a clinic. So I really liked how you said that. So we're coming up on the last of the podcast. A couple of last questions I like to ask is, at the end of the day, when all the arena lights turn off, or when it's time to go to bed or whatever, who do you want people to know Glenn Jackson was, Like when someone comes back and it's like, when you want your legacy to be left behind, who is Glenn Jackson?
A guy that fell down but got back up and tried again.
Yeah, I like that for sure. There's a lot of there's a lot of times where, you know, where we do fall, and we don't want to get back up again. It's hard. And there's times where, especially in events that we compete in, like whether we might have started an event and it just like really went bad, and we just want to like, we're just like, we're done with it. We're done with it. We're done. And there's been times where I've been like, I'm done with this event. I'm done. I guess that also goes back to the dedication that you have on how bad you want it, you know?
Well, I think that's something that's within. My definition of being a winner and your definition may be two different things. You're first generation cowboy. So just competing may be a goal. Hey, I'm just getting to the point my confidence is built up enough to go compete at a PCA rodeo, to where my goal may be a little bigger, but that doesn't mean I'm more successful than you are, or you're more successful than I am. You know,
Right.
it if you done what you started out or you made a goal to do, then you were successful. You don't have to win first, you don't have to win a buckle. That doesn't matter.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. In the calf roping itself, is there any goals that you have that you're still wanting to like achieve? Is there any maybe some finals that you want to compete in or anything like that?
No, my deal, I just want to be competitive as long as I can be competitive. And when I'm done, I'm gonna accept it and walk away with a smile.
Yeah. Was there any, certain competitions, whether it be in the NFR or anything that you wanted, like when you were first starting out, that you're like, man, I want to go do that, and like as you've gotten older, you're like, nah, I don't really want to go do that.
Well, every kid that starts, he wants to make the NFR. And then at some point, reality strikes in, and it's like, hey, I'm probably not going to make the NFR, but that doesn't mean my rodeo career has been a failure.
Yeah, we went to Vegas last year. And we went during the NFR time, and going back to like Cowboys, the family that you have. I don't think we would go to Vegas any other time of the year if it wasn't for the NFR, because it's just like there's Cowboys everywhere, and we got to go to the Cowboy Christmas, and that was cool, and like that was one of the cooler memories in rodeo. Just being able to go out there during that time was really, really cool.
Absolutely. Well, anytime you can be around family or people that have things in common with you, then it's a good time. It's an
Yeah,
opportunity to learn.
for sure. For sure. And like there's not when we were out there, there wasn't we were everywhere all the time, like it was so much fun and like being able to learn and being able to see everything, it was really, really cool.
You never quit learning in the sport of rodeo.
Yeah, you don't. You don't at all. There's always something, always something that you can get better at.
Absolutely.
Do you give calf roping lessons or anything at your place?
I'll help anybody. It's like an open door. I've never told anyone they couldn't come rope. I've never really made it inconvenient for anyone to come rope. If someone wanting to learn, if they think I can help them, they're welcome to come. I'm easily
You're pretty good.
accessible.
Yeah, you're pretty good at calf roping. I don't think you quite give yourself enough credit for how good you are in the calf roping. You are pretty good at it. Yeah, I think that I like how you kind of leave it open for everybody.
Yeah, they'll make the decision as if they think I rope good enough or not. Everyone has
Yeah,
a little different expectations.
yeah, I like that. I like it a lot. You're pretty good. You are pretty good. If I was a calf roper, I'd come get some lessons in Oklahoma. That's pretty good. So talking about the sport of rodeo, I kind of went back and forth on talking about this or not, but in rodeo itself it's a minorly white sport. I mean, at least in this area, it's a lot of white folks that rodeo. And I don't know if that's something that's goes all around, but I mean, even if you look at the NFR and the people who competes in the NFR, it seems like rodeo itself is a minorly white sport. Do you see that that's something that, I mean, would eventually even out over time, or how do you see that?
Well, that's something that's kind of sensitive to me because I grew up around more white people than I did black people. I've met some good white people that eventually became like family, and I've never experienced racism in my life. I've been to rodeos where I didn't see people that look like me for miles upon miles upon miles. And I've never experienced racism. I've experienced ignorance, but never racism. So, with that being said, I don't see color. I see either you're a good guy or you're a bad guy. And, I'll give you an example. You're talking about in your area. Back last summer, I had to come to the Southeast quite a bit to try to make the IFR. And I can remember going to countless rodeos, and I didn't see a single person that looked like me. No,
Okay.
I'm not racist. No, I didn't ride in the building looking for someone that looked like me. That's just human nature to ride in the grand entry. And, I see all these faces, but none of them that look like my face. But it's something that you learn to overlook. I didn't go to the rodeo to see how many black guys were going to be there. I didn't go to the rodeo to be the best black guy there. I went to the rodeo to win something. And if you're a calf roper and you like the sport of rodeo, you'll appreciate what I do, whether I'm black or white.
Exactly. I like that a lot. And like, and I don't think it's just, I mean, there are places and areas like, especially around here where there's more white folks, but I think all across the board, the rodeo itself, that's just what it is. And when you go to a rodeo, it's nothing like you ever consider, and there's never ever been a problem, but it's definitely noticeable that that's just is what it is.
Is it a problem? No. Is it more white contestants than black contestants? Yes. Do I think that it's more minority, as in black guys that rope good enough to go rodeo? Yes. But I think it's something that's been instilled in them at a young age to rodeo as a hobby and not as a job. So you stay close to home and you go to the local rodeos, and that's it. But rodeos become big enough now that you can make a living stemming from rodeo, whether it's selling horses, whether it's in the broadcasting, or whatever the case may be. You can make a living rodeoing now. And a lot of the minorities hadn't accepted that,
Right.
to make a long story short, in my opinion.
Yeah. I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah, I agree for sure. There's definitely a lot of room to grow in rodeo, no matter what aspect you're in. There's a lot of way to grow and to make a living off of it for sure.
You know, I
Um,
I think that rodeo makes people way more acceptant.
Yeah.
You
Uh,
know, you're from the southeast. You've been over there in the south, and I'm sure you've seen the rebel flags and all this and all that. But I literally went to some places over there, and I've made the IFR 8 or 10 times. I went to some places over there I'd never even heard of before,
yeah.
and like they're one way in and one way out, and I mean true redneck. But they were very accepted. They Hey, come have a drink with us. Hey, how are you? How long are you going to be over here? How's it been going? You know, and
Yeah.
they message me on social media now. So I think that's just an excuse. If someone tells you they're not successful rodeoing or they don't feel accepted rodeoing because they're black, they're probably just lying to you. It's a little more to it than that.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure, and I would never say that, but yeah, for sure, I agree with that. The rodeo world itself it's very very accepted, and in the southeast, like you said, like it's people I swear coming up out of the field in their four wheelers pulling up in the rodeo, like it's that. I mean, I've been to some rodeos where it's like I don't know where you folks came from, but I mean they're the nicest people you can imagine.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun and like yeah, you're always no matter where you are. I've never like not felt accepted in a rodeo event or I mean at all. So going going down to our last question of the podcast. It's a question that someone has asked me to ask for the next couple of podcasts. If you could or you may have in your arena a big sign for everyone to see when they come in or everyone to see when they come out, what would it say on that sign?
Ask me that question one more time.
If you had a big sign in your arena, whether it's a banner or a big sign, and they could say whatever you wanted on the sign, but anybody who came in your arena, and everyone who left your arena seeing this sign, what would it say?
You know, in the past, it would have probably said continue to reach for your goals. But last summer when I was over there rodeoing, a friend of mine made a statement. I mean, I was sucking it up. I wasn't winning very much, and I was like a long ways out from making the finals. And I was actually thinking about just coming home and being done, just start back over next year. And he told me, you know what, Glenn Jack, here's the deal. No one cares. Try harder. So that's what it would be. No one cares. Just try harder.
I like that. I do like that a lot. Like I was on another Zoom call last night, and we talked about how many people are looking at you when you mess up, or and I told him I was like, nobody is thinking about you near as much as you are. Like nobody cares that you made that bad run. Like
Well,
get over
here,
yourself and go
here's the
keep.
deal. I think it relates to everything in life. You're gonna fall down, but it's up to you to get back up or not. You're gonna
Yeah,
fall short in life. It's up to you to keep going or just lay down and ask for sympathy. One or the other. You know, and it's the same thing in rodeo. You know, losing can be the testimony someone needed to hear. You know, hey, this guy's not roping good. He's thinking about quitting. Well, guess what? This guy that's made the IFR or the NFR, he didn't rope good. But guess what? He didn't quit. He put his name down next week and he kept going. So I'm going to do the same. You know, I think that you have to keep in mind every action is a testimony for somebody.
I like that. And like when you do mess up, let them know that's not who you are, and they know you're gonna be back and you're gonna show them like, you know what I mean? Like it's not who you are just to give up and, throw the towel in. I like that a lot.
You know, I tell people all the time you have to distinguish the difference between the art and the artist. You know, what that guy does in the arena, it can be totally different outside of the arena. Again, I know guys that are argumentatively the very best at their event, but outside of the arena, they're absolute prick.
Yeah.
You know, and you have to balance the two. So it, it's like, hey, just because I messed up, that doesn't mean anything. Yeah, I could be a great guy outside of the arena. You just have to distinguish the difference in the two.
Yeah. I like that a lot. I like that a lot for sure. Is there anything else that you would like to share on the podcast, whether it's on the stunt side or your life or the rodeo side in itself?
I don't think. You
I think
pitch and I'll catch. If you got a question, you ask and I'll answer.
No, I think we've covered just about everything, and I appreciate you joining the podcast. I hope that this podcast is going to be able to go, and someone who may be a calf roper and want to get into calf roping, or may just be looking for some kind of encouragement as they've been calf roping or maybe in the stunt side of the world, or just wanting to live the simple life. I hope that this really does help them in that side of it for sure. And I just appreciate you taking the time to join today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
No problem.